Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that's just getting started on the greatest story ever told. We are on Chapter 3, Enter Zoro, the Pirate Hunter. I'm your host, Franky, and every time I read this chapter, I feel super.
And I'm your co-host, Robin. It's a pleasure to be here. This chapter is truly foundational. We meet the man, the myth, the future right hand of the king.
But it's not the introduction you expect, right? If this was any other series, the first crewmate would show up in some epic sword fight, slicing down 100 guys, a big flashy entrance. But Oda, he's playing a different game.
A much more patient and insightful one. Zoro's introduction isn't about his strength, though we'll see plenty of that soon enough. It's about his character.
Exactly. It's a man tied to a post, starving, at his absolute weakest. And the single most defining moment in the entire chapter is him eating dirt-covered rice balls off the ground. That's where you see the soul of the character. That one moment is more important than 100 sword fights.
That one small act tells you everything you need to know about his honor, his pride, his capacity for gratitude, and his defiance. It's a masterclass in showing, not telling.
Everything. He's a complex dude from panel 1. If you want to be here to see how every single member of this legendary crew gets their moment in the sun, maybe drop a subscribe. You're not going to want to miss how this all comes together, because Oda starts laying the groundwork right here, right now. All right, let's get into it. The journey to the first crewmate begins now.
We open with Luffy and Koby still in that tiny boat, finally arriving at the Marine base on Shellstown.
And Luffy is genuinely shocked they made it. He's like, wow, we actually got here. And Koby has to explain, no, this is just basic navigation. We aimed for the island and we got here. It's perfect, Luffy. He has the destination in his head, becoming Pirate King, but zero concept of the journey. The practical steps are a complete mystery to him.
Koby immediately points out the obvious. You can't just float around at sea, you need a navigator. It's the first time the practical needs of a pirate crew are mentioned. This isn't just about finding strong guys to punch people with you. You need a team with actual tangible skills to survive in this world.
Yes, I love that Oda does this so early. It grounds the adventure. It says you can have the biggest dream in the world, the strongest will, the coolest devil fruit, but if you can't read a map or predict a storm, you're just gonna starve in the middle of the ocean. It adds stakes to the whole journey.
Luffy, of course, completely ignores this very valid and life-saving piece of advice and says, let's go eat. Priorities are set.
It's not that he doesn't understand, I think. It's just that his brain processes one problem at a time. The current problem is hungry. The lost at sea problem can be dealt with later. It's a very simple, direct way of thinking that, ironically, allows him to overcome incredibly complex situations.
He cuts through all the noise. Right now, the noise is his stomach growling, so they head into town to solve that problem. And this is where the atmosphere gets really interesting. They're in a restaurant, just a normal-looking place, and Luffy casually, loudly mentions he's looking for Roronoa Zoro.
And the entire world stops. The sound design in the anime for this scene is perfect. You hear the clatter of silverware hitting plates, the scraping of chairs, and then dead silence.
It's brilliant. The whole place just freezes. Utensils drop, people start whispering and sweating. Absolute panic. You can feel the temperature in the room drop 20 degrees. Oda is so good at showing, not telling.
He doesn't need a narrator box that says, Zoro is a very feared man. He makes you feel the fear in the room through the reactions of these ordinary people.
And then Koby, ever the pragmatist, tries to understand the power dynamics. He mentions the name of the Marine in charge, Captain Morgan. He probably assumes this name will bring a sense of relief, a counterpoint to the fear of Zoro. And the exact same thing happens.
That's the part that gets you. Okay, a notorious bounty hunter, a so-called demon. Of course people are scared. That makes sense. That's his whole reputation. But the Marine captain? The guy who's supposed to be the symbol of safety and justice? The man whose flag is flying over their town? Why does his name bring the same, if not a greater level of terror?
That's the central question of the arc, isn't it? It immediately tells you this town isn't safe. It's trapped. They're caught between a so-called demon and a Marine who inspires the same level of fear. There's no good option for them. The protectors are just as monstrous as the criminals.
It's brilliant setup.
It's world building done with a scalpel. In one short scene, Oda establishes the entire political climate of the island without a single line of exposition. We know this place is broken. The system that's meant to protect people is the very thing oppressing them. This is a theme that One Piece will come back to again and again and again.
And it contextualizes Luffy's journey. Being a pirate isn't just about freedom for himself. It's often about bringing freedom to others who are crushed by these broken systems. He's a liberator, even if he doesn't think of himself that way.
Luffy, in his typical fashion, doesn't really care about the nuance of socio-political oppression. Not yet, anyway. He hears Zoro is at the Marine base, and he just goes to the Marine base. Koby's freaking out, trying to come up with a plan, and Luffy's already halfway up the wall.
It's his defining trait, action over deliberation. While others are paralyzed by fear or uncertainty, he moves.
He just climbs the wall. No plan, no infiltration, just, I'm gonna go see him. He pops his head over, and there he is, Roronoa Zoro,
tied to a wooden cross in the middle of a courtyard.
The design is iconic from the first moment we see him. The 3 swords bound together and set aside, the black bandana tied around his bicep, which is such a cool detail. It's not just for show, it's a tool he's not currently using. The green haramaki, the simple white shirt, it's all there. He looks like a killer. The art makes him look gaunt, starved, but his eyes are sharp.
But he's not just some brute. Koby is so terrified he falls right back down. But Luffy is just curious. He sees this infamous guy that a whole town is scared of, and his first thought is just to talk to him. He's like, so you're him. No fear, just a straightforward assessment.
And Zoro's reaction is just as telling. He's been out there for 9 days with no food, and he's still got the energy to be defiant and sarcastic. His spirit is completely unbroken.
He even offers them a deal. After Luffy confirms he's a bounty hunter, Zoro says, untie me and I'll go hunt down a bounty for you. The hustle never stops, even when he's at his absolute weakest.
He sees an angle, and he takes it. It shows you his mindset. He's a pragmatist. He's not begging for help. He's proposing a transaction. He's trying to maintain his agency, even while being completely powerless. But then, the whole scene, the whole dynamic shifts. A little girl with a ladder shows up. Rika. Oh man, Rika. This is one of the first examples of a character type Oda loves. The small, seemingly insignificant child whose courage changes the trajectory of the story.
She climbs over the wall, hushing them, and walks right up to the demon tied to a post. She isn't scared of his reputation. She just sees a person who is suffering.
This little kid has more guts than half the adults in this town. She made him onigiri, rice balls, because she knew he was starving. It's such a pure, simple act of kindness in this place that's completely choked by fear.
And Zoro's reaction is fascinating. He immediately tells her to get lost. He's harsh. He refuses the food. At first, you might think he's just as mean and cruel as his reputation suggests. He's validating the town's fear of him.
Yeah, for a second you're like, oh man, is he really just a jerk? He's yelling at this sweet little girl who's just trying to help him. It's a genuine moment of doubt for the reader. Did Luffy misjudge this guy?
But if you pause and think about what this means from his perspective, it's the complete opposite of cruelty. He knows being associated with him, even through an act of kindness, is dangerous. His rejection isn't cruelty, it's a warning. He's trying to push her away for her own safety. He is protecting her.
And he was absolutely right to do it, because right then, the absolute worst, most punchable character we've met so far shows up. The textbook definition of a spoiled brat.
Helmeppo.
Ugh, the chin, the ridiculous bowl cut, the smug, my daddy can beat up your daddy attitude. He walks in with a couple of marine grunts and immediately starts running his mouth. He is the definition of someone who has never earned a single ounce of respect in his life, and he knows it, which is why he has to be such a bully.
He's all inherited power, a stark contrast to everyone else we've met. Luffy is carving his own path. Koby is trying to find his own courage. Zoro survives on his own strength. Helmeppo is just the captain's son.
He sees the onigiri and immediately acts like he's been personally offended. He snatches them from Rika, takes a bite, and immediately spits it out in this over-the-top, disgusted way.
Because she made them with sugar instead of salt. It's such a small, perfect detail. She's a little kid. She probably thought sweet things are what everyone likes. It's an innocent mistake born from a place of kindness.
And his reaction is just pure, unadulterated malice. He doesn't just say he doesn't like it. He throws them on the ground and grinds them into the dirt with his shoe, right in front of her.
He has to perform his cruelty. He needs an audience. He stomps them, looks at her, and makes sure she sees that her effort, her kindness, is literally garbage to him.
It's so needlessly cruel. There's no reason for it other than to make a child cry. This is our introduction to the leadership of this Marine base. Not a hero, not a commander, but a pathetic bully who gets his kicks tormenting a little girl. And through him, we understand the nature of his father, Captain Morgan. The rot starts at the top.
And then he twists the knife. He brings up the law his father made. Anyone who helps a prisoner is guilty of the same crime. He uses the law itself as a weapon of intimidation, which is a perversion of its purpose. The law is meant to create order, and he's using it to create fear.
He says he let her off because she's a kid, which isn't an act of mercy. It's just him asserting his power to choose who the rules apply to. But then he orders one of the Marines to just toss her over the wall. Not escort her out, not help her down, toss her like she's a bag of trash.
And that moment with the Marine is so important. We see the Grunt hesitate. His face is conflicted. He clearly doesn't want to do it. You can see the conflict in his eyes. He knows this is wrong. He joined the Marines to protect little girls like Rika, not to throw them over walls.
But Helmeppo just has to say, "My daddy is Captain Morgan," and the guy caves. The name is a weapon. He does it. He throws the little girl. The system is so rotten that a good man, or at least a man who wants to be good, is forced to do a terrible thing out of fear for his own safety. It's a perfect illustration of how tyranny works. It makes everyone complicit.
Luckily, Luffy is there. He catches her without a problem. And this is a key Luffy moment. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't yell. He just watches. He's processing. He's absorbing the situation. Not just the actions, but the intent behind them. He's seeing the real enemy here. And it's not the demon tied to the post.
That's his superpower, man. It's not the gum-gum fruit. It's his moral clarity. He sees through all the titles and reputations and uniforms and just sees what's right and what's wrong. And everything Helmeppo is doing is profoundly, fundamentally wrong.
Helmeppo leaves, still mocking Zoro, who hasn't shown an ounce of weakness this whole time. He's taken the verbal abuse, the humiliation of having a child's gift destroyed, all of it without flinching. His will is iron.
But then comes the moment that defines everything. The moment that makes you say, okay, I would follow this man into hell. After Helmeppo's gone, Zoro looks over at Luffy and he asks him to pick up the crushed, dirt-covered rice balls.
Luffy does it, confused. He doesn't understand the request. From a practical standpoint, it's just ruined food. But he does it. And Zoro eats it. He eats every last muddy, sugary, disgusting piece.
And he says, "Tell the little girl I ate it all. It was delicious." That's it. That's the first mate of the Pirate King right there. That one line is everything. He wouldn't give Helmeppo the satisfaction of seeing him accept kindness, of seeing him eat, but he would absolutely not let that little girl's courage and kindness go to waste. He would rather eat dirt than let her think her effort meant nothing. Super.
It's an act of profound gratitude disguised as gruffness. He preserves his own pride against his enemy while also completely validating Rika's courage. He shields her from Helmeppo and then he honors her sacrifice in secret. It's an incredibly complex and honorable thing to do, communicating two completely different messages with one action.
And he sees all of this. He's a simple dude, but he has perfect emotional intelligence. He doesn't need a long speech about Zoro's tragic past. He sees that one action and understands exactly who Roronoa Zoro is. He knows this is the guy. His search is over.
He goes and tells Rika what happened, and Koby is just floored. His image of the bloodthirsty demon Zoro, the monster from the wanted posters, is completely shattered. He sees this incredibly considerate, honorable man. The world isn't as black and white as he thought.
And then Rika gives us the whole story, the context for everything we've just seen. The reason Zoro was arrested in the first place? He was protecting her and the town from Helmeppo's pet wolf that was running around terrorizing everyone.
So he wasn't hunting a bounty. He wasn't picking a fight for money. He was acting as a protector. He did the job the Marines were supposed to be doing. And for that, he was punished by the Marines. It's a perfect inversion of justice.
And for that heroic act, he was arrested. But being a pragmatic guy, he made a deal with Helmeppo. If he could survive for a certain amount of time tied to that post, he and his swords would be returned to him and he'd be free to go.
A deal he was on track to win. He'd already survived 9 days. He was going to make it. This isn't just physical toughness. His willpower is monstrous. The ability to endure that for a principle, for his own freedom and his swords, is a hint at the kind of insane endurance we'll see from him for the rest of the series. This is a man who does not break.
But of course, a snake is a snake, and this is the final piece of the puzzle for Luffy. Helmeppo shows up again, bragging right in front of them, so smug. He announces that the deal was a lie from the start. He never had any intention of letting Zoro go.
He plans to execute Zoro in 3 days, and he's laughing about it. He's not just breaking a promise, he's bragging about his own deception. He sees it as a sign of his cleverness, not his lack of honor.
And he does it right in front of Luffy, the one person in the world you do not break a promise in front of. We've only known Luffy for 3 chapters, but we already have his moral code down. You don't hurt people who are being kind, and you don't lie about your promises. That's it. That's Luffy's whole moral code.
Helmeppo broke both rules in the span of about 10 minutes. He hurt Rika's feelings and belittled her kindness. And now he's proudly breaking a solemn promise he made to Zoro. For Luffy, this isn't a gray area. This is a capital offense.
And that's all it takes. Luffy just walks up, stone-faced, not a single wasted motion, and lays him out with one clean punch. Bam! It's not flashy, it's not a gum-gum pistol. It's just a fist. It's personal.
The sound of that impact must have been so satisfying for the readers, for the viewers, for anyone who has ever had to deal with a bully with unearned power. It's the first time Luffy's anger is truly directed at a person's character, not just a physical threat like Alvida or the sea monster. He's passing judgment here.
It's perfect. Helmeppo goes down crying for his daddy, a complete coward, and Luffy doesn't even watch him run away. His mind is made up. He turns his back on the problem he just solved and focuses on his goal. He looks back at the base where Zoro is still tied up, and he says it. Not a question, not an offer, a declaration. I've decided. You're joining my crew.
The chapter ends on that note of absolute certainty. Luffy has found his first Nakama, his first true partner, and nothing, not the Marines, not a corrupt captain, not even Zoro's own reluctance is going to stand in his way.
He found a man of honor being crushed by a corrupt system, and he's going to smash that system to set him free. This is the foundation of the Straw Hat Pirates right here. This is the mission statement.
It really is. It's not about recruiting the strongest or the most famous. It's about finding good people. People with strong wills and kind hearts who have been failed by the world and giving them a place to belong.
Okay, what a chapter. The birth of the monster trio is so close I can taste it. Let us know in the comments what you think of Zoro's introduction. We're pretty sure it's one of the best first crewmate intros in manga history, period. It tells you everything in so few pages.
All right, shall we move to predictions for Chapter 4? Franky, you first.
Okay, prediction 1. Luffy just declared he's recruiting Zoro, but Zoro himself is going to need some convincing. We just established his monumental pride. He's not just going to say, okay, boss. He just said earlier he wouldn't become a criminal. Luffy's going to have to do more than just punch Helmeppo. I think the key is the swords. They must be somewhere on the base. Luffy is going to have to fight his way in and get Zoro's 3 swords back to prove he's serious. It won't be a negotiation. It'll be an act of faith.
That makes sense. The swords are his identity. They're more than just weapons. They almost feel like his partners in a way. He wouldn't join without them, and the act of retrieving them would be a powerful statement from Luffy.
Prediction 2. Koby's choice is coming to a head and fast. He's standing right there next to Luffy, who just assaulted the son of a Marine captain at a Marine base. There is no more gray area. His dream of being a Marine and his friendship with Luffy are now in direct, violent opposition. He can't have both, and he's going to have to choose a side in the next chapter. He's going to have to find his courage, for real this time.
A test of his courage, just like the one on Alvida's ship, but with far greater stakes. I like that. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that we're going to see exactly why Captain Morgan is so feared. Helmeppo is a gnat, a symptom of the disease. Now we're going to meet the disease itself. Morgan is the source of the rot. I think we're going to see him in action, and he's going to be physically imposing and brutally tyrannical. A guy with a reputation like that has to have a violent past. He's not just a corrupt administrator, he's a monster. Luffy's first real opponent.
A proper first boss fight for Luffy. And he'll have Zoro with him. Bro, yes, I can see it. What's your second one?
My second prediction is about Zoro's promise. He promised to survive that ordeal. We've seen how important honor and keeping one's word is to him. Even if Luffy frees him, I think Zoro's own pride will be a factor. He might initially refuse help because he wants to fulfill his end of the bargain, even though he now knows Helmeppo won't.
It'll be a conflict within Zoro himself. Luffy will have to convince him that fighting back against a liar isn't breaking your word. It's a different, higher kind of honor. The honor of not letting evil win.
Ooh, a battle of philosophies. That's a good one. It's not just about untying him physically. Luffy has to untie him mentally from this broken promise. He has to break Zoro's stubborn pride before they can team up. Bro, I can't wait to see that conversation. Luffy trying to argue philosophy is going to be hilarious and probably surprisingly effective.
It's all coming together. The first two Straw Hat Pirates, a captain who values freedom above all, and a first mate who values honor above all, about to stand side by side. The wings of the king are about to meet for the very first time. This is where it all starts. This is the big bang of the Straw Hat crew. We'll be back next time to see it happen. Don't miss it.
Thank you for listening to Inherited Dawn. We'll see you then.